Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. You know, I want to follow up off of what our chairman of the full committee said. As a matter of fact, it's not only in our jurisdiction, but, you know, we've held field hearings all across this country for the past 11 months dealing with critical minerals and mining. And I would like to point out one thing, Mr. Chairman. I think it's rather obvious that as well as in those field hearings, our colleagues on the other aisle weren't even there for those, much less here for this one today. So when someone did pop in, it's no wonder she's a little confused that we might have jurisdiction. It's the fact that they don't participate. If I ramble on a little bit more, please forgive me, but I'm going to tell you something. China is in a race with us, and I'm sure that the American people know that, and if they don't, they need to know that. They've even stated that by 2045 or 2049, they want to be militarily, socially, economically, and even in space, be dominant over the world. And we need to be cognizant of that. And we also need to be paying attention to it, which is why I'm so glad that we are looking at things like what we're looking at today. You know, as a matter of fact, we have an administration that wants us to go EV on everything. But yet, Mr. Chairman, they refuse to let us mine. I mean, we were in Minnesota earlier, and we were talking about the largest deposit in the world of critical minerals in a town up there that is drying up because they've been trying to get permits for 20 years, but they can't do it. Over 80% of the critical minerals that we do process in this country are processed over in China by factories and smelters that are nowhere near green or as green as they could be. But yet here we are, not allowing our own people. So today, I want to continue to focus on China. And Professor Hanlon, you stated that legal norms in space will be developed based on activity. Whoever is first to establish space, resource management, and utilization will establish the corresponding legal norms. So will the world benefit more from space resources if CCP controls the celestial mineral supply chain or if the United States controls the celestial mineral supply chain?
Thank you, sir. One of the greatest things about this country is that we have the opportunity for every person to speak and to talk and to give their opinion. We have hearings, we have notice of proposed rulemakings. Everybody has the opportunity to contribute, whether they're an indigenous person, whether they're male, female, cisgender, it doesn't matter. You have a voice if you're American. In China, that's not the truth, and that's not how the Chinese government works. I believe that if the Chinese were to get there first, I can't predict what they would do, but we can look at what they do here on Earth. They suppress their own people. They make claims to sovereign high seas as sovereign territory. If we want to see the equitable, responsible use of space resources and see them managed in an equitable manner, we need them to be led by a country and countries that are part of the Artemis Accords who will support freedom and democracy and equity here on Earth and in space.
So it's safe to say that America should focus on first obtaining a first mover advantage over space mining so that it can control both the legal framework and resource utilization policies that will most benefit our country? Is that correct?
I would say so that it could lead in the development of the framework, yes.
Thank you. And if America lets the Chinese Communist Party secure control over the celestial mineral supply chain, then all other concerns are practically useless because
Yes.
the CCP will just do what it wants.
Yes,
Yeah, regardless of any implications for others, right?
yes.
All right, thank you. Let's look at a worst case scenario then, Dr. Autry and Professor Hanlon, real quick. I know I'm running out of time. What's the worst case scenario if China wins the race for space mining, and how would you that negatively impact the United States? And Dr. Autry, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but if China wins the race in space, we've ceded the strategic high ground militarily, and we've ceded the entire economic future, and the United States will be relegated to a backwater position for the rest of human history. I honestly think this is an existential point.
Thank you. Professor?
I agree with Dr. Autry. If the Chinese will have the opportunity to block our access not just to the moon, but to all of space. And humanity's future lies in space. We have a lot of problems here on Earth to deal with, but a lot of the answers we will find in space, including, I believe, ultimately peace. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.